Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I am Kevin, your host, CEO at Tiny Brains, and I have Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains, with me. Say hello, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
So, as always, we're going to run through some of the biggest stories in XR from the previous week. But before we dive in, today there is an event in London for the Apple Vision Pro organized by FOV Ventures, and I shall be there. In fact, I'm probably there at this moment when this podcast goes out. So if you're there, come and say hi. Always happy to talk to you. If you're not there, I'll also be at GDC next month. So hit me up. Love to have a coffee. Diving into this week's stories, or last week's stories rather, we're going to begin with Mozilla Hubs. Um, this one's a little bit of a tragedy, small tragedy. People loved this space, but Pete, fill us in. What's been happening?
Yeah, well, simply it's closing down, isn't it? Mozilla have decided that people aren't using it enough. It's not getting the traction that they wanted to. So it's closing down in May. It's closing down actually on my birthday at the end of May.
Oh,
So I might jump in there on the last day just as a little birthday treat. Yeah, so they launched the WebXR app in 2018, and it people did love it. It was a small hit in 2018, but nobody talks about it now. I don't ever remember anybody really mentioning it in the last couple of years.
so do you think this is a case of just there wasn't enough support from Mozilla side, enough updates, or was it just that the traction it had has since been surpassed? Which way do you come at this from?
I think there wasn't enough support. I I really saw Mozilla shouting about it initially, and then there just wasn't any. You never saw in the press or anything else that they were doing this, they were bringing this feature out for it, or they were trying to encourage a company or a brand to come into it, and anything else. There just wasn't any support that I ever saw in the last few years. You know, which is a shame.
Honestly, I can't say that I've used it since maybe 2019.
Mm,
Uh, so maybe I'm part of the problem here.
mm. Well, that's it. Because one of the other big spaces that went was AltSpace VR, wasn't it? Microsoft's they bought AltSpace, saved it, and it still died. And I think that was down to user retention more than you know uh, features and the lack of support.
Well, hopefully another alternative will spring up, much like what happened to Google Poly, was it? Poly Google. They're essentially it was essentially just for VR realistically, but the model hosting platform, which people loved, and there were a few alternatives that sprung up in the meantime. Nothing that's quite got the acclaim, but still some services that have taken over and replaced it with basically the same feature set. So hopefully something will come along and be the new Mozilla Hubs, but not Mozilla nor Hubs.
No, I don't know if Mozilla are going to even be in XR anymore with hubs going down.
Which is a real not nice position to be in.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a shame, especially after talking about Windows again. Windows mixed reality is now gone as well. So a lot of the sort of the old guard are really going by the wayside now, aren't they?
Who there remembers Oculus Share? Yeah.
God.
Anyway, moving on. We have onto Oculus, or rather Meta news. We have the neural wristband.
Yes, we've got Mark Zuckerberg once again talking about their new wristband that they bought. Well, they acquired Control Labs in 2019 and then showcased the first prototype in 2021. So, and that was a funky little sort of looked like a watch, a nice little band that goes around your wrist. But then, yeah, takes all the gestures from your arm, or not your thought processes. I don't think it was. It was sort of your thought processes, wasn't it? It wasn't just wrist gestures, and check,
I
puts it
I,
into like movements.
I was going to say I'm no biologist, right, and I'm no scientist, but I know I've heard the expression of wearing your heart on your sleeve, but your brain in your wrist. I don't know. I don't get the connection, but I would love to see this technology working. I'd love to see it doing what they suggested it can do.
Well, he says it's going to be in the next few years. It's not just a 1 year project that they were going to work on and then throw by the wayside like rivals like Google kind of do. It says it's coming out in the next few years. They haven't got shown any more prototypes, but he did he did have a quote which I loved, because he's taken a little recent dig at Apple Vision Pro, with their Meta 3 sort of little video, didn't they? And so he's just taken a little dig at Elon Musk, and his Neuralink, because he said, "I don't mean like a chip that you jack into your brain. I wouldn't want to use the version 1 of that." I'm like, oh, that's a little Musk dig. Who wants to stick a chip in their brain when you can just have it on your wrist?
Well, yeah, I can see the point. I mean, there is going to come a time, surely, maybe not in our lifetimes, but there will come a time, surely, when everybody has a chip in their brain of some kind. And I personally can't wait for the blue screen of death to happen when I get the chip in my head. I'm sure that would be very entertaining.
What just comes in
Um,
front of your eyes like that, just a blue
yeah, just
screen?
oh, sorry, I can't come to work today because I'm updating. Windows has forced an update. So, but if we have jobs at that point. But anyway, this is an interesting piece of tech. I would love for it to be able to actually do what it says it's going to do. And yeah, I'm happy to have my brain in my arm if that's what is needed. Moving on, we have more realistic anticipated hardware. Seems to be a recurring theme at the moment that there's a new headset coming up every week on this podcast, basically.
Mhm.
But this one is one from some old school VR guys. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, Somnium Space, the metaverse guys. They've been around for a good few years, and they announced their Somnium VR1 headset. It was last year they announced it, and yeah, they've recently said that the VR1 headset could start shipping in April this year. Yeah, pre-orders are gonna start. It's not gonna be cheap. It's prices are starting from $1,900 and going up to just over $2,000 if you want one of these tethered PC VR headsets. But a lot of people are excited about this headset because of its customization options, and it had Somnium have said there are some open source elements to it, like the eye tracking, for example. So there is some interesting potential there, but again, it's going to be a niche within a niche because of the price.
So I'm a big fan of the Somnium. I think they've done some great things. And yeah, I would like to see this headset take off. I have to question how much room there is for high-end VR headsets of that, because obviously we've got Vario and so on. Another competitor entering that field. Obviously, they're not Somnium as wonderful as they have been for VR. They're not in a position where they can go up against Meta or Apple.
Oh, no,
That's not who they are. So they're entering the right space in the market, in my opinion. I'm just worried that there isn't enough room. So hopefully their expectations, their requirements to make this profitable are relatively low. Um, and yeah, hopefully it does perform and we get more players in that space.
Well, yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll see more and hear more in the next couple of months, because it should be out and available hopefully very soon. But I would have thought, yes, it's going to be in small numbers as they ramp up production in Europe.
We'll see. Good luck to you guys.
Yeah.
Something. Moving on, we've got some more Apple Vision Pro news, as again is a running theme every week. What's this one about, Pete?
Right, so this is super fancy, super exclusive. There's a new airline that launched in the Maldives called Beyond. I think that's how you say it, just without the Y, Beyond. And they are putting Apple Vision Pro headsets on their planes, so you can have AVP entertainment in your on your luxury flight to the Maldives.
Oh, you can watch Alien versus Predator on the plane. What?
You can indeed, yes. So this is I felt like this was a slightly sort of marketing ploy here, because the airline only launched in November last year, so they've only been going a few months. They've got two planes that they fly out from, like Munich and a couple of other locations, to the Maldives. So they're purely going to the Maldives. It's a purely business class plane, so it's all first class seats all the way through. So you only get like 44 seats in a plane. But yes, if you pay for the opulence package, you get a nice fancy Apple Vision Pro to while away the hours as you go to your sun-kissed destination, which is rather nice, I suppose. It's got the normal in-flight content that they have, like the paupers watch on a TV screen, but now you could watch it in on a big screen. This is from July though. They're not getting headsets on the flights until July, they say.
Well, that's because Apple aren't shipping them for them,
Yeah, well,
presumably. They've only just pre-ordered. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, this kind of thing has happened for a long time, these kind of installations. Back in the 90s, Nintendo had an agreement with a hotel chain in America. I can't remember which one, I'm sorry. But to install Nintendo 64s in their hotel rooms, which had customized controllers and all sorts that you could navigate the TV menu using the N64 controller, which those controllers are now fetch a pretty penny on eBay because they're quite unique. But yeah, so this kind of installation kind of thing happens a lot in like
Well, more recently there was Flixbus, wasn't there? In Europe, and they put VR headsets. I think it was Quest 2s that they actually put in buses. So it has happened more recently as well.
so yeah, whether it's a publicity stunt or whether it's actually going to be useful, we'll see. But I like it. I like the idea. It's not hurting anybody, so why not?
Exactly, exactly. So
Okay, and we're going to wrap up again with a bit of game news. Now, I don't know much about this one, but it's called Pawball, which basically makes me feel like cats playing with balls, which is like, all right, I like cats.
yeah, this is perfect for you, Kev, because it's essentially cats, and more cats, and it's cats
Right.
playing football or soccer, whichever way you like to term it, really. By Arvor, I think that's how you say it. The studio behind Pixel Ripped, the franchise VR franchise that I really enjoy. But
Hmm.
yeah, Paw Ball is essentially it's very early days. It looks like a mixture of Gorilla Tag and Rocket League. So you're sort of bouncing along the floor with your paws, and then you're trying to score goals against the team. So that's kind of how the impression that I get from it. And
This
it's going
sounds
to be free to play as well.
this sounds quite familiar. Um,
There are
there is a game. There is a game that is already out that does this quite well. It's called Spaceball. Feel free to check it out. Um, it is available on Steam and on the Meta App Lab. And it's a title that myself and Pete worked on. So full disclosure. But go ahead and check it out. Free to play, kind of fun. And at the same time, check out Pawball and let us know what you think of them, basically.
Well, Paw Ball isn't available yet. It's still in early development, but yes, do check out their Twitter feeds and their Discord because they are going to be hosting beta testers. So if you want to sign up for an early try of Paw Ball, get over to Discord.
Sounds great. As Pete mentioned, I like cats. I like football. Perfect.
Exactly.
So yes, that wraps up this week's top headlines from the previous week in XR. Once again, I'm going to be at the Apple Vision Pro meetup. I can't remember the official name of it this afternoon. So if anyone's there, anyone watching this is attending, please shout out to me. And also, GDC is coming up pretty quickly. Reach out. Still time on my schedule. Love to have a coffee. Thank you very much, everybody.
Have fun.